Welcome to Night City for a twofer. I hope you like guns. I hope you're the kind of person that when you visit Texas, the first thing you want to do is shoot a gun. And ask you to help them buy a pink .22 target rifle out of Walmart and figure out a way to smuggle it back to Japan, despite the fact that that violates numerous gun laws in both countries. Then, failing that, guilt-trip my girlfriend, who happened to be your best friend, into a shooting match where you probably squeezed off 1,000 rounds in 4 hours because you had never shot a gun, and my girlfriend, who was from Chicago, thought guns were originally evil. But my father was more than happy to let you shoot all his weapons, even making me show off the 1911 I hate, because John Moses Browning apparently has a sadistic hate of southpaws when he designed his signature sidearm. I hope you have that love of guns, because I'm Mr. Welch, and we are talking about the Solo of Fortune books, and not about the difficulty of finding semi-automatic pistols that don't have their prices jacked up if a lefty wants to buy one that's easy to use. The first Solo of Fortune magazine was made in 2013, but since both books are written as a send-off of the Soldier of Fortune magazine, the first version was pretty heavy on fluff and light on the rules, but that does make it still relevant compared to other 2013 books. The book was written by Mike Pondsmith with additional articles by a host of various writers. The cover was actually a photograph instead of the normal art, featuring cover model Toby Edwards. The book was released in 1989, being a bit short compared to the future versions at only 80 pages. This book goes into detail about the world of the Solo in Cyberpunk, featuring different roles in the world for Solos to take part in, including a focus on street gangs, government agents, and private security. New weapons and gear are introduced through advertisements in the magazine, but remember, this is for the 2013 version of the game, so some of the rules were obsolete for the 2020 version. It's mostly fluff, but if you want an in-depth read on the old days of Cyberpunk, you can get the PDF for $6. A physical copy will run you between $40 and $60 on the secondhand market. Solo of Fortune 2 was the revamp of the book released in 1994. Revamp is the wrong word. This is a completely new book with updated information on the 2020 world, repeating nothing from its predecessor. Again, it's written as a magazine, with every section presented as an article, with numerous writers contributing to the book. The cover again is a photograph instead of art, with Ross Wynn being the model. He's not just a model, he's also one of the authors of the book. This time around, there's a lot more crunch compared to fluff. The book is bigger, coming in at 96 pages, with a few more articles, as can be expected. It doesn't wait around with the new rules, with the first article talking about building a custom gun with all sorts of options. If you wanted to build Robocop's gun, for example, take a heavy handgun, add fully automatic, extended magazine, extended auto-fire, custom grip, and improved compensation. You will pay several times the cost for that gun, and you will look fabulous using it. At least until a sniper drops you, and then they will look fabulous until the cycle repeats. There's 4 pages of customization, one of the most popular parts of the book. Of course, you've got all the new tech and gear, with some gear being introduced in articles and others appearing in the book as in-universe advertisements. This does mean the gear section is scattered all over the book, which can get annoying as the articles talking about the gear are listed in the table of contents, but not the advertisements. So you have to remember that the Advanced Targeting Network is on page 25, the Mono Sword Cane is on page 29, and the Nova Arms Selection is on page 37. It is a minor issue, but it is an issue compared to the other books where the gear is contained in a single section. You've got several articles on options for solos in 2020. They don't forget to talk about who's shooting who and where. There's a section on the basic breakdowns on Black Ops, including talking about which Black Ops lets you shoot people, which Black Ops lets you stab people, and which Black Ops are 0 body count. In every article, it seems, they talk about the fluff, and then there's always a new piece of gear included. You just have to, again, remember what page featured which piece of cool gear. There are several pieces of fiction included, including one featuring C.J. O'Reilly talking about his experiences, followed up by a 2-part story talking about solos in Moscow, and finally an interview with Adam Smasher, the full Boar guy that's still alive in 2077. These are pretty light on rules, but if you like lore delves, they're decent enough, if a bit short. There's a large section talking about the fate of the Soviet Union. Remember, the USSR is still kicking in the 2020 world. It's not kicking much, but Russia is still holding on to everything it can still lay claim to. Most of the Warsaw Pact nations have been let go, and many of them have turned rabid anti-communist. Artel's frighteningly accurate predictions of the future got a good chunk of that right, except for the war involving Poland and the Czech Republic against a bitter Slovakia. Yugoslavia has gone straight to hell, but that was happening as this book was being written, so that doesn't really count. They did predict the Bosnian War was going to rage for 10 years instead of just 3. The remnants of Yugoslavia haven't recovered and are still prone to shoot at each other. If you like NPCs, there's a literal who's who on the top 10 solos of America. You've got the expected Morgan Blackhand. There's a few repeating characters from previous books, like Susan Forrest from Protect and Serve and Boa Wayland from the corporate books. The rest are a mix of various solo types, including a few that seem to be there just to add rules for new power armor or full body conversion. These are all high-powered NPCs, and they aren't stupid either. People at this power rating don't get that way by being stupid. Remember that if the party runs up against them. The book has a few pages on cyber animals, and by that I mean things that can wipe the party off the map quick. Cyber gorillas can get the drop on the party. There's a cyber lion and a cyber shark. There's a full page on how to make these unholy abominations, but they're much simpler rules compared to like a standard NPC. They've got suggestions on different animals you can Borg out, but there's only 4 examples given. Still, cyber wolves are great for characters expecting the normal guards on their run. There are a lot of vehicles in this book, though most of them are in different sections. There's a few tied to different articles as examples of things to expect fighting in the featured area. There's a section on walking tanks that's just a few pages and just a bit short for my tastes. Then there's a small section on new vehicles like the AV-11, a new vectored thrust vehicle. There's a police mini-tank and a luxury motorcycle. That's a strange mix of vehicles that seem to be thrown in for padding. If you want Solo Fortune 2, it's $16 on the Artel website. It's not a bad price for what is mostly just a new gear source book. Compared to Wildside or Live and Direct, Solo Fortune doesn't actually go into the detail on what the solo role was written for. Most people believe solos are just there to shoot things, and this book is not going to change that opinion much. If you want more guns and gears to shoot people with, the book is worth it. It's not as fluff-heavy as its predecessor, but it does have a lot of welcome crunch. Side note, before I talk about the next video, Artel Saurian has merged all 3 of the Corp books into a single book for $25 as a PDF on drive-thru, and it's now currently 50% off. They said there's a print-on-demand book coming soon, but there's nothing physical right now, sadly. Now, keeping with the Splat books, I'm talking about Guide to the Net and Rashi Bartmoss's Brainware Blowout to look at netrunners. Maybe in all these books you'll find the solution to running a netrunner in a party without boring people. That's a tall order, however. I'll try and get that one up this week because I've only got a few books left and 2077 is right around the corner.